This video is for business leaders who want to become legends by mastering deliberate practice. It's the mastery habit shared by virtually every expert and master on earth. So watch to the end of this video for a list of habits people think cause mastery, but don't. And a recommended video which is a deep dive into, or a deeper dive into one of the mastery habits. And also, because there's an extra one today, and that is you can learn how to download my mastery habit guide. So Malcolm Gladwell's the guy who made the 10,000 hour rule famous and probably deliberate practice. So he made them famous and popular in his book Outliers. Unfortunately, he understood neither well enough to write on it. That might be harsh, but this is at least specifically with with both. K. Anders Ericsson, which is the inventor of both the 10,000 hour finding and the researcher who found that, and the inventor of deliberate practice, says in his book Peak, and this is paraphrased, Gladwell got it wrong. And Gladwell's description of deliberate practice was, to put it simply, unpracticable. It wasn't detailed enough or well enough understood that you could use it. I know this because I thought, well, okay, I can't really see how I can use this yet. There's something missing, or I don't understand it. So what I did is I kept reading. I read 2 more books that focused on deliberate practice. And the third one was the one I should have started with, which cleared everything up. That was Peak, the Secrets from the New Science of Expertise by its inventor, K. Anders Ericsson. So, when you can, go to the source. So while deliberate practice is simple in principle, it's hard in practice, and took me 3 books to understand well enough to be able to actually use it properly. Had I started with Peak, and please, if you want to go deeper and read the books or read or listen to a book, start with the one I just mentioned, Peak, and save yourself time you don't need to read those other 2 books, though they were good. They didn't teach me about deliberate practice. That wasn't their main topic, so I can't really fault them for that. So I will cover in this video everything you know to actually do deliberate practice, but you'll have to get an expert's help and or an objective way to assess your target micro skill or micro skills. This is the trick. And first of all, let's start with this. Choose what you want to master. I'll use something, where is it? It's right here. I'll use something fun and silly, but just happens to also be perfect to illustrate how deliberate practice works and how it should work. And in particular, this is when you don't have the luxury of hiring that expert teacher or coach, which if you can, you should. It will actually save you money and time, because time is money, but also because they have spent their lifetime becoming an expert themselves, and they are well worth the money if you can afford it. So I'm learning this. This is, yes, it's exactly what it looks like. It's a slinky, or I guess technically it's a spring toy, since that's a registered trademark. It's a spring toy, but let's call it a slinky because that's what everybody calls it. And I'm learning this because I'm doing some kids classes. I still have a couple English classes left, 2 young kids classes and 1 other one. So it's like 6 hours a week of doing, hanging on to a little bit of that, the English teaching that got me started here in Japan. But because of COVID, I can't touch anything that they do. So there's no, as they call it, high touch. So there's no high fives. We can't do my favorite frisbee or catch games or passing games when you pass flashcards. All that's off the table. So this is why I'm doing this blinky thing. And there's this exercise that you can learn. And I'm going to stand up for this because this illustrates. This might seem silly, but it took a while. It literally took hours to learn how to do this. So here I am. You know, this is easy, but what about this? When you have to do it over a long distance, up to your arm span, that actually takes a little bit of skill. That's what the product of deliberate practice is to make something better. Now I'm working on the next skill on this, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. So essentially what this comes down to is when you have a big skill, say, for example, slinky manipulation, in my case, you break down that skill and find a single piece of that skill. Now you slice that piece of the larger skill into the thinnest slice you could possibly do to give you a single ultra specific concrete micro skill you can objectively measure. So for my example, what I'm doing here is called the escalator. Wow, that really messes with my color. I'm going to leave my color temperature because I'm going to be standing up several times during this episode. So the escalator is probably what you think it is. It's, you know, the slinky down the stairs, but with your hands. Now, I'm still learning this. I still suck at this. I am still absolutely in that deliberate practice zone for this skill. Very far from mastery, but I can at least demonstrate what I mean by this. And essentially what it is it's a matter of doing this. I'll stand up again. It's a matter of doing this and having it, catching it before it falls, and again, but doing this all the time. And as you can see, I'm not that good at it yet. And I've been practicing it almost every day for over a week, and sometimes for hours, because it is the motor skill involved is very challenging. Essentially what I need to do, and I'll stand up for this again, is my micro skill in this case is that when I go from here, when I release this and it flops over to here, I need to place my hand here. So I need to go from the top hand to the bottom hand, coming here as efficiently as possible, in such a way, in the shortest path and as efficiently as possible, to get there in time to continuously catch the next one, to put my hand in the right position. But mostly I've identified that the main thing for me is I'm arriving too late or rushing, which means I need to do the shortest, most direct path to place my hand where the slinky is going to land. So it's very easy in this case because the objective measure is if I don't get there in time, I drop the slinky, or it does this. I can illustrate it because I'm still at that level, right? It gets ahead of me. So because it gets ahead of me, I've arrived too late, and I get that immediate objective feedback telling me I haven't achieved the target skill that I want, which is getting there fast enough to be able to place it accurately. So it's literally the direct path where I place my hand underneath and in front to catch the slinky as it transfers over to the next hand. So it's pretty simple in this case. Now, I'm still, as you can see, mastering that path, and it's taken way longer. The energy beam, it isn't effortless. Let's say it took 4 or 5 hours. I didn't really count. But this has probably already taken 20 hours, and I'm really not there. I'm better than I was, but it's actually a very challenging skill to learn. So now when you perform a practice, this is a really super important thing. Now the next step in your deliberate practice is to perform the practice in the real world. Mental practice is crap by comparison, and I'll make a video about the necessity for a real world practice tomorrow, but it should be easily illustrated in what I just did. If I visualize myself perfectly doing the escalator all the time, there's no gravity, there's no timing. That's sort of the essence of it. The real world is what really tells you whether you do something right, and you need to practice in the real world. So then the next step to this is to assess the results as you practice at the top edge of your ability. So you should always do that. You should practice, assess results as you practice at the top edge of your ability ideally daily or more frequently. So while I'm doing this, while I'm talking and trying to do it, I'm actually dividing my attention, and that's not good. I should not be talking. I should be looking and concentrating on exactly where my hand next goes. It actually comes underneath, right? Because it's tipping over here. This hand has to come here and then here. I guess I should show you like this. It's like an underhand recycling, because the top hand, as it flies over here, the closest path is actually to pass my hand underneath. So because you are practicing at the top edge of your skill, and because you want to practice this ideally daily or more frequently, and that's about habits, which I covered yesterday and in many other videos, since you'll fail as much or more than you'll succeed by being at the top edge of your skill, by striving to exceed your current skill, having a growth mindset is critical, or you'll probably quit in under a week, if not the first day. Imagine doing the slinky escalate that I just shown you for hours on end and never getting past 2 or 3. That's where I am. But if I had a negative mindset about this, it was like, well, this is impossible, or I can't do this. I don't have the talent to do it. But I know that's not the reality of the skill or the task or the nature of deliberate practice. This is where kids destroy adults. They know they suck or are at the beginning of everything they're doing. So they're met much less like babies than we ego-fragile adults are about making mistakes, which they understand as learning, not failure. We have to relearn that skill of anything we're poor at being feedback, not failure, or learning, not failure, as opposed to we don't learn it in the first few seconds or the first few minutes. We decide we're not interested. It's not fun anymore. Welcome to deliberate practice. So be like baby and embrace the beginner's mind, which is Shoshin, or Shoshin no Shin in Japanese Zen. You've probably heard of it before, but it's in essence that you think of what you're doing as something you've never done before. I am absolutely still a beginner at this. I don't have to just have that mindset. It's absolutely true that I am a beginner. I am fundamentally incompetent at doing this task well at this point. So whatever your micro skill is, you must have a way to accurately and objectively assess your current performance. With mine, it's obvious, because if I perform it wrong, if I don't get there in time, I drop it, or the bottom of the slinky goes past my hand. I'm grabbing the center of it like this. This is actually really useful that I'm doing this. It's like here, if I go here, okay, I caught it. Okay, that's good. But if I miss the next one, I catch it in the middle. That's the kind of thing that proves objectively, and even more importantly, under ideal conditions, immediately. So instant feedback that you're doing it correctly or not, and objective. That is, you have a way of measuring it. Now, this is where and why Anders Ericsson talks about deliberate practice, mostly in the context of having an expert teacher or an expert coach to help you do that, an expert trainer. If you have that, as I've already said, pay for that, do it, because it will save you so much time trial and erroring it. But if you don't have the luxury, or you can't find the person with the skill you need, then you have to go on your own, and it has to be objective. Now, with the slinky thing, I could also be doing a video recording, because that's objective. In this case, it's not necessary, because I get instant feedback. If the slinky falls, if I cannot continuously recycle and keep it walking down the escalator or down the stairs, as is the classic use of a slinky, then clearly I'm not there yet. So you assess your performance from that. One way, of course, as I just said, is to record it, to video record it, or do whatever you can. But in the absence of having an expert coach, an expert trainer, an expert teacher, record or come up with a metric that for that micro skill will objectively say, okay, I'm arriving faster, I'm in the right position, I did the balance sheet and there were no errors, or there were 2 errors. It took me an hour to do the balance sheet. I'm just using accounting as an example. And I want to shave off 3 minutes, or I want to get faster every time. And if you get faster and you're error free, those are objective measures you can use. And that's the essence of deliberate practice. So you assess your performance, then rehearse or record your mental plan. So you can record it in a document or you could rehearse. Now, how do I have to move my hands? Exactly what should it look like? Or I slow it down sometimes to, I can hang on to the back of the slinky like this. So while I can always just do this and cheat. Do one at a time, super slow. And I can still practice my hand placement. Oh, I still missed it. So I can rehearse the position, visualize it, and then go, okay, I know what my next target is. I know what I'm striving to do the next time I practice to make it better. And how do I know when it's better? When the objective results demonstrate to me that it's, wow. Come on, autofocus. Let me try this. There we go. Okay, the autofocus doesn't like me moving around. Okay, so essentially you assess that performance, you record it, you make that mental plan or that documented plan to improve towards your target micro skill until you achieve it. I was hoping yesterday that I would be good enough doing a specific slinky trick, which I haven't even started to learn. But even this escalator would have been great because I could have used that for counting with the kids. These are kids from 2 to 5 years old, and this is English as a second language. Just being able to count beyond 3 or 5 or 10, if I had that skill, I could have used it, but it's taken longer than expected. I will practice until I achieve it, and then I will bring this new, fun, novel activity into the classroom to help them stay entertained while actually learning in a way that's intrinsically motivating for them, because it's fun. So essentially what you do is, I've already talked about the whole process. You do the process that I've just talked about. You rinse and repeat it forever, either with other micro skills until you reach or exceed your micro skill target goals, or with the same micro skills. So once I've got this escalator nailed, I can go backwards, and then the micro skills will either change, or I can go sideways, but I'm very, very much below that. So I already know where I'm going to go. When it becomes easy to do the forward escalator, I know what comes next. Thank you for watching this far. You've reached the bonus material, and the bonus material is 3 habits that don't cause mastery, but people think they do. Number 1 is waking up exceedingly early, like 3, 4, or 5 a.m. What makes this seem like a success secret is that having several hours of undisturbed time to focus mindfully, practice deliberately, or single task are causes of mastery and success, regardless of what time you wake up. I'm a nighthawk. Many times I'm going to bed at 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 a.m. Since I'm up during the same time the success secret people are, that isn't the reason. It's because I am up at a time where I won't be disturbed. If you, as the business leader, wanted to say 2 hours in the afternoon, I will not be disturbed by anything shy of a family death or similar emergency, you can do it in the middle of the day. It has nothing to do with when you wake up. It has to do with having undisturbed, single task, deliberate practice style freedom to focus on one thing for a period of time, and to have that period of time, ideally, again, daily. Nothing to do with what time you wake up. So the next one is related. It's the early to bed, early to rise. You know the rest. Means absolutely nothing. And this is for a different reason in this case. Getting a full rest, that is sleeping until you wake up naturally without an alarm, is a causal mastery habit. That is the way your brain works. Is sleeping recharges your neurotransmitters, and your body knows when you should wake up naturally without an alarm. And when you do, you have topped up neurotransmitters, you are more alert, you can think better, you are less stressed, you have more willpower. Essentially all of the foundational, or most of the foundational neurological underpinnings of being able to achieve mastery more efficiently, and anything more efficiently involving your brain, is underlined by having enough rest. So a full night's rest, regardless of what time you go to bed and regardless of what time you wake up. If I go to bed at 9 a.m. and I wake up at 5 or 6 p.m. and I'm fully rested and didn't use an alarm, I am equally primed as the early to bed, early to rise myth suggests. It's about getting a full sleep cycle over 7 hours because of something. There's a calcium release that only happens after about 7 hours, and the topping up of your neurotransmitters. That is the secret, which makes early to bed, early to rise seem like the cause of a mastery habit, though the cause of mastery, which it is not. So here's what it is. Do the exact same thing. This is the third one now. Do the exact same thing at the exact same time, at the exact same place, wearing exactly the same clothes. This is BS. Sort of. This is a combination of 3 different things. State-dependent learning. If you learn a skill drunk, believe it or not, you may be better at that skill drunk than you are when you're not drunk. That's state-dependent learning. Circadian rhythms. Doing something at the same time every day, your body and your brain is ready for it, and you get accustomed to it. And also because of that other part beyond circadian rhythms, which is your daily sleep and wake cycle, is routine, which is, of course, just another name for habits. You're forming a habit, you're doing something every day, of course you're getting better at it. But here's the thing. While those things about exact help, they're not really the cause. While they tend to support establishing a routine or habit, which is actually the causal aspect of it regarding mastery, is the fact that you're building a strong routine. It's the routine or habit or consistency with which you do those activities at that same time, in those same clothes, in that same place, that actually make the difference. It's the consistent practice, not that they're being done at the same time, in the same clothes, in the same place, blah, blah, blah. So if you buy too much into these or those beginner crutches, and that's what they are, you'll mistakenly think that you have failed if you can't do those specific tasks under those specific conditions. And really, that's completely false. It's like, oh no, I don't have my video recording hat. Oh my God, I forgot to wear my blue pants today. I can't do it. Nonsense. That rigid, exact routine and the specifics of them, they are good simply because they are training wheels for habit or routine formation. But once you can ride your bike, you can ride your bike anywhere, at any time, in any clothes. Not only that, you can ride any bike. It doesn't have to be the exact same bike. Now, that is a true indication of mastery. When you've mastered riding a bike, you can get on any bike. You don't have to relearn the skill. That's what makes those things appear to be essential. They're not essential. They're helping, but when you've actually mastered it, and even before you master it, having the flexibility to say, I can't create those ideal conditions, you're better to do them in less than ideal conditions, but still every day consistently, you will still get probably 80 or 90 or more % of the benefit that state-dependent learning and all those routine building rituals that you've built that you think you must do, but you must not. You'd be better to dump those routines and do it randomly every day at any time in any clothes than to be religious about doing that and not do it when you can't meet those ideal conditions. So that's really what it comes down to. So the recommended video for today is The Neuroscience of Brain Training. I will put it there and in the description. And finally, get better results and move towards mastery by downloading my free Mastery Habits Guide. I will put the link in the description. This has been Crush It Club 234, Deliberate Practice Mastery. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.